After completing lessons 1 and 2, you should be developing an understanding and opinion of what a photograph is, and hopefully you've also thought about your photography goals. The next question you need to ask yourself, what will you photograph? That question may prompt you to say to yourself, that's a good question. There are so many subjects to potentially photograph, it can be confusing, stressful, or overwhelming to think about. Worst of all, you might not know where to start. There is one thing for sure, your subject matter taste will change as you proceed through your journey. Your creative vision is also going to change as you begin to see things differently. As you shoot more photos, you will see light in ways you never thought possible. So where do you begin? If you want to be a street or portrait photographer, you may begin with taking photos of people you know. Perhaps you can start with family or friends. If you want to capture nature, landscapes, or wildlife, start with places you are familiar with, places that are close to home. Nearby parks or zoos are great places to practice photographing wildlife in large vistas. Eventually, you might find yourself getting bored or unchallenged if you limit yourself to a narrow scope of subjects. Here's a suggestion. Find an interesting subject and try and capture it in different ways. Photograph it at different angles, at different times of the year, and in different light. One of the best ways to find things of interest or inspiration is to look at the work of others. That doesn't mean you need to copy what others find inspiring, but you can use the work of others to brainstorm ideas. Here are 2 exercises to get yourself started in seeing things from a photographic perspective. The first exercise is to make a visit to a local park and do the following. Find a location in the park you think is interesting, a location with lots of people milling about. While at that location, try and photograph interesting things in the location, but without showing people in your images. This exercise will force you to be creative. For the second exercise, and if you have a camera with interchangeable lenses, you're going to photograph someone you know. Try a family member or a friend. Use someone who understands you are learning. A total stranger may not be as patient as someone you know. If you have a digital or a film single lens reflex or a mirrorless camera, try to use a short focal length zoom lens with your camera. Perhaps one in the range of 28mm to 135mm or a variation of that focal length. If you have that type of lens, set it to 35mm or 50mm. If you don't have a zoom lens, but you do have a 35mm or 50mm fixed lens, use one or the other. You can do this exercise with a smartphone if that is all you have. Now, and no matter what distance you are to your subject, capture your subject at different angles. High angle, low angle, tilted or canted perspective. Whichever shooting positions or angles you attempt, pay attention to what you observe about the scene and your subject and how light affects your subject. Photograph them with different angles of light and use shadows to accentuate their facial features. Overall, shoot at least 100 to 200 images for each exercise to help develop your eye. Later, and when you review your photos, you might discover things you didn't notice at the time you captured those photos. Get into the habit before making any photographs by observing the details of the location or the subject you are about to capture. It can be helpful to view the scene and your subject through your viewfinder or the LCD screen on the back of your camera. Often, what you see in your camera is a different perspective than what we naturally see with our eyes. The reason for this is the limited field of view presented by the lens of a camera and the broad field of view our eyes have of a given scene. So when composing your scene or your subject, you may find at times you need to position your camera closer to the subject or scenes and move further away for others. Photographing subjects or scenes from various distances will give the viewer of your photographs a different perspective or viewpoint of your subject. When viewing a scene, Also keep track of the framing and how your subjects are framed and whatever is within your image area. What that means, and without turning this into an early lesson on composition, make sure you don't have objects coming out of the back of your subject's head. That is, if you do have people in your photo frame. Next, try not to cut the head, feet, or hands off your subject. Again, if you have a person in your photo, unless you're doing a portrait type of photograph. Most of all, try to be creative. Try capturing your subjects at different angles in the viewfinder while paying attention to your image area or how you frame your subject. You don't want to distract your viewers from your work and what you are trying to express, or the story you're trying to convey with your images. These simple learning exercises are just the beginning of you developing your skills, but they are also helping to set a foundation for the eventual muscle memory you will develop in your mind as a photographer. The habits you form early on will help you decide what type of subjects or what you might be interested in photographing. Much like deciding if you want to be a professional or a serious hobbyist, the subject matter you choose and enjoy photographing, it will have a profound effect on how much you need to learn or even want to learn. This early learning process will also be the first step in helping you understand what future equipment you might need to purchase and what kind of budget you will need for your photography habit. Here are a couple of other suggestions to help get you started. Make a list of subjects you would like to photograph. It doesn't have to be a long list at the beginning, and you can amend your list as time goes on and weigh the pros and cons of each. I've attached a link to a Word document below this video so you can make your own list. Then go out and try photographing some of those subjects and see how you like them. You might find you're a natural at one or more of them, and some you might not like as you thought you would. Don't overlook the mundane. You never know what may turn out to be a great photograph, and until you start to download and process your images on a computer, or until you look at the first contact sheet if you are shooting film. The trick to getting better as a new photographer is to follow these 3 keys to your photographic success. Shoot, shoot, and shoot some more. Shooting is what all professional photographers refer to as capturing images with a camera. The more you shoot, the better your creative eye and artistic vision will improve and change. Your creativity and ability to imagine a final image, it will become a habit once you start to learn and master the basics of light, camera operations, controlling exposure, image composition, and the many facets of image management when returning from a day of shooting. It is through repetition that we become better at any craft, to include photography. So get out there and shoot, shoot, and shoot, and have fun. Finally, and if you decide to do the 2 exercises in this lesson, put a link in the comments section to your best photos and where you have them posted online. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel using the subscribe button found below. Also, make sure to click the post notification bell so you never miss out on new content as it's posted. Last thing, please spread the word about this channel to anyone you think might be interested in learning photography. And remember, if you're going to shoot someone, use a camera. Thanks for watching.